Technology transfer is very important. Universities exist obviously to create new knowledge, but to really have an impact, we want to make sure that our knowledge gets out to people so it can help improve their lives, whether that's helping to improve their health or helping to improve the way that they live or helping businesses to grow and be successful and spur economic development. That's really the idea, how we take the ideas that are generated inside a university and put them to work in the marketplace.
A key element of what we do is we take our discoveries, patent them, and then find companies. In fact, in this case, we've used a local Arizona company that licenses our discoveries, and we'll then take those discoveries and do validation studies to prove that they are what we hope they are, and then take them to the FDA where they will be approved so they can be distributed as a product that clinics, doctors, patients can use to detect disease early or to help patients understand what the prognosis is or perhaps understand what their best treatment options will be. And so by that means we get the information from the bench here in the laboratory out into the real world.
Arizona's public universities are held to a very high standard of productivity around tech transfer. We have set ambitious goals, whether that's the number of patents that are issued, the amount of intellectual property, the amount of intellectual property income, or the number of new businesses that we're spurring every single year. We want to make sure that we continue to measure and grow our success.
ASU has been one of the best resources for us. They've opened up their network, and with that comes hospitals, it comes customers, potential partnerships with suppliers, and their partnerships and their connections in the Phoenix area helped us. Without them, we probably wouldn't have been able to do it.
One of the biggest opportunities that we got in the last few months is being selected as a finalist in South by Southwest's Eco-Social Impact Challenge. It is one of the biggest technical conglomerate events across the US where social impact category startups are selected and they're recognized for the work and the impact that they're going to create in this world. So it is a way, an opportunity for us to thank the community and the university for all the support that they've given us too.
Each of Arizona's public universities has an office dedicated to technology transfer. Those offices are led by top professionals who understand both academics and the needs of industry. They make critical partnerships and linkages to make sure that the people who are making the discoveries inside the university know where the market exists for their discoveries, and likewise they make sure that industry is aware of all of the capabilities inside the university. So they act as both navigators and agents to make sure that these critical connections happen and that we can expedite the transfer of our knowledge and discoveries into the marketplace.
In terms of making partnerships with industry, that again requires going out and talking to our partners in industry, making them aware of what we do in the lab, not only just through publishing papers, but going to conferences. If we see companies that may have some sort of overlap with the type of research that we do, pursuing those endeavors to really bring in additional funding that's really required to take these therapies, potential therapies from bench to bedside.
Well, one of the things the Mirror Lab enables us to take part in partnerships with other universities and other countries and institutions around the world and provide technical support and some construction and allow us to become part of these large projects. So an example of that is the Large Binocular Telescope, currently the largest in the world on Mount Graham in Arizona, which is a partnership between Italy, Germany, and a number of universities in the United States and the University of Arizona.
Some of the challenges and hurdles in tech transfer aren't necessarily particular just to Arizona, but they're things we're actively trying to overcome. We want to be sure that we can streamline the process as much as possible so that business can get quicker access to discovery so that we can put our ideas and inventions to work much more quickly. We also need to make sure that faculty have an opportunity to understand which of their ideas might be marketable.
The main gap here is coming from a university environment. We like to look at things at a very fundamental level, and in the industrial environment they have to look at things at a more applied level. And so we're working on ways and trying to bridge that gap. One of the ways that we do that is to work with consortia, for example, the Semiconductor Research Corporation, which is a consortia of a variety of different companies, electronic companies. The great thing about this consortium is that it really tries to bridge that gap from the university to the industry by having the students have internships in the companies, by also having yearly meetings or bi-yearly meetings and really understanding from both points of view, because in many ways we speak different languages, and so we need to come to a common point or a common ground.
Getting people to fund, organizations to fund, the government to fund any sort of research is difficult. A lot of times when you're doing this work, you don't know where it's going to go, where it's going to lead. But as scientists, we follow our questions. We don't always follow where the implications are going to be. But in this case right now, we're one of the few labs that have obvious applications and implications for our work. We already know where it's going to go. But it's important for those labs that you don't know where the research is going to go to fund it. For example, in our lab, when we started this work years ago, it was really focused on understanding how frogs can actually shoot their tongues out and catch a fly and then bring it back in. How does that happen? How do the muscles in the tongue actually allow that to happen? And that work has led us to uncovering mechanisms no one knew existed within muscles, and then continue that work now to where we're designing advanced prostheses. We understand how to allow astronauts into space for years and things like that.
The Arizona Technology Council boasts a very special relationship with not only all the state universities, but the community colleges as well. And here in particular at the University of Arizona, we've had a very strong relationship, whether it's with Tech Launch Arizona to this very special place that we call the University of Arizona Tech Park.
So another thing that's important in Arizona is the initiative being taken by the University of Arizona called Tech Launch Arizona. And this is basically an effort on the part of the university to stimulate more technology going into the commercial markets. There's actually been funding appropriated to help develop early stage technology. Entrepreneurs are encouraged to join up with the university to develop new companies. And this is a big step forward.
So we've participated with the university in writing a number of proposals and grants to fund state-of-the-art research, both as it applies to our core technology and as it applies to making measurements out in the industry. We've done this on a number of different occasions, and most recently been successful with the New Photonics Initiative. That's a national initiative.
So the furnace is actually the first of its kind to be manufactured and sited in the United States. We worked closely with a domestic manufacturer to scale up the furnace to a size that would allow us to make large-scale ceramics that would be of interest for industry. In addition to industry, we have a strong interest from Department of Defense in which this technology would be used to enable fabrication of aerospace structures that are on the surface of the vehicle.
So most of the work that we do in a research setting at a university has to do with beginning in a specific test bed or beginning with a specific example. But once you're done with that example, you have two options. You can either try to develop new technology specific for that example and spin those out into the world, or you can take some of the fundamentals and apply them to a different application. And so we do some of each in this lab. Some of our work shows up directly into the application area that we started with. We also have expertise in examples in the lab where we've taken some software and some fundamental math that had to do with one application and applied it somewhere else. So for example, we took some work that had to do with floating river sensors and how do you control floating river sensors. We turned that directly into a spin-off company and some software that allows us to control the home energy that you use. So how do you change your home energy desires so that you can achieve better cost efficiency?
But also we need to spend time thinking about how we can build a business environment in Arizona that's more conducive, that allows startups to flourish as we take ideas that maybe aren't quite ready to be marketed, but put them in a startup type business and climate so that they can be incubated, that those ideas can continue to develop and they can attract the capital that's needed really to turn the idea into a business venture. We need the help of our key partners in business to be able to create that environment so we have a ready marketplace for all the ideas and discoveries from Arizona's universities.